Hello and welcome back to the College Football Fanatics podcast. We are here and we are going to be talking today about the different games that are important over the weekend, and we're gonna be talking about our spotlight game, mostly, which is USC and UCLA. Again, this is gonna be one of these shorter episodes. Our main episodes are gonna be on Wednesday. Those are gonna be an hour long each. So it's this game. So our spotlight game this week is USC and UCLA. Currently ESPN has UCLA losing to USC at a 60% predictor matchup predictor. So they have a 60% chance that USC wins against UCLA, but I don't think that really tells the full story. Um, because I tend to think that offensively, um, UCLA is a much more balanced team, and you can see this when you look at the total yards versus rushing and passing yards. Half of UCLA's production um, comes from their rushing attack. So it's unlike UCLA where their offense is very lopsided towards their passing game, and their rushing game does not have the same strength. Um, UCLA's rushing attack is fairly strong, and after watching the games and things like that, I think it's important that doesn't go unnoticed in a game like this, where I think the final score will be each team has well over 40 points in this game. I mean, when we're talking about points per game, uh, USC has a edge at 42.4 compared to USCLA's 39.5. So let's get into the dividing of the team. So UCLA currently is number 5 in college football in yards per game at 504.1 yards per game, placing them at 5th. Their passing game, led by Dorian Thompson Robinson, um, is is currently standing at 264 yards a game, and this is nowhere near Caleb Williams and UCLA's 316 yards a game. I mean, it is quite clear that USC has a prolific advantage in the passing game. But one of the things I want to bring up is we've seen UCLA struggle in their passing game, and that's led to their offense coming to a grinding halt in games before. I mean, the Oregon State game, UCLA or USC really struggled in their attack, um, against a pretty mediocre, Oregon State team. I mean, yes, they've been ranked in college football before, but that doesn't mean that they're a quality team, or that they should have even been playing the same type of football as UCLA. But one of the things I do want to point out is that even though USC's um, even though their offense at times might come to a grinding halt, their defense leads in turnover margin. They have 15 interceptions on the season so far. So, even if they end up struggling on offense, they still have a pretty quality defense that if you were to ask me, does it stack up against the defenses of Ohio State or Michigan or, to some extent, even possibly Illinois, I'd say no. Just because that defense does give up 24.4 yards or points per game. But their turnover margin is the best of anybody in college football. So that tells me that they're at least getting in the positions that they need to get that ball turned over. And when you think about where USC was a year ago, a team that didn't make a bowl game, that went 4-8 on the season, a team that had to be that their basically their entire leadership had to be gutted, and a new head coach brought in, and I think they also replaced their athletic director, if I'm not mistaken. That entire USC leadership had to be completely gutted for them to turn their game around. And the fact that they bring in Lincoln Riley from Oklahoma, and they say, put together as best a team you can. Coming into the season, people expected the offense to be better because of how Lincoln Riley reacted, how he went into the transfer portal, and he plucked the players that he wanted from the transfer portal. Players like Caleb Williams, who transferred to Lincoln Riley, I should say to USC because of Lincoln Riley. I think that is really important to see this team now having turned around in less than 6 months. This is a team that in less than 6 months, and even possibly more like 3 months, turned from a team that doesn't make a bowl, that struggles to win, into a team that is now possibly fighting for a college football playoff position. Is a mighty impressive thing to talk about. So I'll talk about the college football playoff a little later, but mostly I want to talk about this game right now. So let's look at so when we're now looking at so we've just talked about the offensive side of the ball, mostly talking about how I think the weakness of USC's team is their rushing attack, and to some extent their passing attack, considering that you have to stop their passing attack. I now want to talk about the weakness of this UCLA team, and that weakness is that they give up over 2 points per game average than USC does. And I worry partially because 20% of Dorian Thompson-Robinson's passes have been interceptions. So he's currently 20 touchdowns, or not 20%, sorry. The touchdown to interception ratio is 20%, or percentage is 20%. So he has 20 touchdowns for 4 interceptions. And given that one of USC's defensive strengths is interceptions, I worry that in the critical moments of this game, UCLA will turn over the ball when they cannot afford to. And I think that can be a really big issue, given the fact that this game is going to be so high scoring, and also given the fact that I think that this game is going to be very, very close. So let's look at the opposite side of the ball on defense and talk about yards allowed. So USC currently allows about 20 more yards. It's 16 more yards than UCLA. So USC allows 394.2 yards per game. compared to UCLA's 378.8 yards per game. And UCLA is their strength is in not allowing rushing yards. They only allow 124.4 rushing yards per game, compared to their 254.4 passing yards per game. Now, neither of these teams are going to be up for any defensive awards this season, but 124 yards is respectable enough to say, okay, that's nice. And one of the things is that USC only allows 20 more yards on the rushing attack, 141.5 compared to their passing yards, which is 252.7. So they only allow a few more yards of rushing per game than UCLA does. If USC can lock down the rushing game, that really only creates the passing game for UCLA. And like I've said, USC specializing in turnover margin, I think can come away with several turnovers in this game against Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So I do also want to say that the fact that in the fourth quarter, USC only allows 2.5 yards per rush average is fairly impressive in my opinion. I mean, they cut so in quarters 1 through 3, they're between 5 and 6 yards per rush average in each of those quarters. Cutting down that fourth quarter rushing attack could be very, very useful in stopping a late push by UCLA's offense on the ground and forcing them again to attack in the air. So this game is important because it plays for the Pac-12 playoff position. USC, if they win this game, are in the Pac-12 playoff, or in the not Pac-12 playoff position. Sorry, Pac-12 championship game. USC, if they win this game, they jump into the the Pac-12 playoff game, and if they win that, they have a very strong chance of going to the playoff, going to the playoff, to the college football playoff. I mean, they joined the ranks of Tennessee and either Michigan or Ohio State, depending on who wins the game in the final week of the Big Ten conference play. So that's why this game is important for USC. This could vault them into the college football playoff, from a year prior where they had no chance of getting into a bowl game, let alone a playoff game. UCLA, on the other hand, needs to win this game, because if they win this game and Oregon loses to Utah, UCLA is now vaulted into the college football, or into the Pac-12 Pac-12. I keep saying playoff. Into the Pac-12 championship game, and so they then will likely play USC again, in that game, or they'll either play they'll play Utah in that game, most likely. So this could either work out phenomenally for the Trojans or phenomenally for UCLA, but both things need to happen for UCLA. Oregon needs to lose and UCLA needs to win. And so that creates a bit of a struggle for this game. This game is probably going to turn out to be quite an important is going to turn out to be what I would consider a classic game in college football history. Currently, they're going to be playing at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, and currently the tickets I looked a little earlier are going to be selling are selling at around $70 a ticket. That is a phenomenal price for a game like this. I mean, it's a really great. I shouldn't say phenomenal price. It's a high price for two great teams. When you look at the ticket sales from last year at the Michigan-Ohio State game, which had very similar playoff and championship game consequences, the tickets were going for $180 at the Big House, which has about 110,000 people allowing inside it. I mean, the official capacity is like 106,000, but I mean, they're going to stick 112,000 people like sardines into that stadium to watch that game. So the fact that this number is getting close to that is really, really a great thing to see. And it's really going to be a lot of fun to see this game. I think it's definitely going to be high scoring. My prediction is that UCLA wins this game by 3 points. I think that UCLA, with their balanced attack and their ability to halt USC's offense by eliminating the passing attack, by eliminating the explosive plays, because USC is one of the best teams in college football right now in explosive plays, for 20 or more yard plays. If I think UCLA can, and likely to some extent will limit USC, and I don't think USC's rushing attack will be able to compete with UCLA's. So I think that that's going to be the final thing. I'm taking UCLA in this game. So the next thing I want to talk about is Michigan and Illinois. Michigan and Illinois, some people have been wondering whether or not, does Illinois stand a chance at winning against Michigan? I'm pretty much putting this at like a 90% win for Michigan, in my opinion, because I don't think that Illinois' offense is going to be able to compete with Michigan's defense. And I don't think Illinois' defense has really faced a team like Michigan all season. And I think that they've done phenomenally. They're number 2 in defensive yards per game. I think they only give up around 12 yards a game. So this isn't a question of whether or not Illinois is a good team. This is a question of, is Illinois elite enough to face against Michigan? But I think this is an important game for Michigan because they are going to be facing a team that does not give up a lot of yards per game, does not give up a lot of points per game, and it gives me flashbacks to the Penn State game because, like Penn State, Illinois is a top 5 defense, and Penn State is still a quality defense, even after Michigan put like 400 yards on them, and I think 300 of those were on the ground. So even with Michigan's demolishing of their defense, Penn State is still a quality defensive unit. And they've proven that throughout their season so far. I think that what's going to end up happening is Michigan's going to, again, run all over them. But I think that Michigan has to allow JJ McCarthy to pass in this game. They have to. He has to get at least 25 passes in this game. For a simple, sorry guys, for a simple fact that, Ohio State is not going to be a pushover defense either. And to some extent, they're going to be even better than Illinois. So while I don't think Illinois is going to win this game, I think that this provides the opportunity to develop J.J. McCarthy as a passer, so that if there is a chance, so if Ohio State is able to eliminate or at least cut down Blake Corum's ability to run the ball, they at least have a proficient passer with carrying that football holding that football in their backfield. So I think this is an important game. Another thing, I'm going to move on to the next game. Ohio State is going to be playing Maryland. Maryland is they're not going to be a challenge for this Ohio State team, and really they shouldn't be. And if Ohio State struggles with Maryland, then I think Ohio State really has bigger problems, and I think that it shows a lot of hope for Michigan. So the line is currently 27 OSU, or minus 27 for Ohio State, and I think that Ohio State covers that. So the over-under is at 62.5. So with the weather being at about 46, it shouldn't affect Ohio State's passing game too much. But I think Ohio State's going to have to really place emphasis on their running game and get their running backs more experience, considering the fact that it's going to be very cold in Columbus in 2 weeks, and that is going to affect their passing game quite a bit. And we've all seen, like we saw it at Northwestern, when the Ohio State passing game is affected, that offense can really grind to a halt. So the last thing that I want to talk about, is rankings. And we didn't talk about this pretty much at all. I don't think we talked about this at all on Wednesday. And so the top 5 didn't change at all. Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU, Tennessee didn't change. LSU moved up 1 spot after their win. USC moved up a spot. Alabama moved up a spot. Clemson moved up a spot, and Utah moved up a spot. Clemson shouldn't be at number 9. Clemson should at most be at like 15. They do not deserve to be at number 9. They have their ranked wins are 7-3 teams that do not play the same football that Clemson should be playing. They have had very close wins, and I understand Clemson is 9-1. But the fact of the matter is that this playoff committee has kept Clemson's ranked wins just so that they can inflate Clemson's standing in the college football playoffs. Clemson shouldn't be anywhere near 9. No way. But I want to talk about a path for either a 1-loss Michigan or a 1-loss Ohio State team to get in. So a 1-loss Michigan team, I don't think wins out against Tennessee, because I think that While USC has a chance of, I think USC has a chance of beating, or of making, and I think that the highest percentage chance, after Michigan is Tennessee to get into the college football playoffs. So what will be asked now? Actually, now that I think about it, if USC goes on to the college or to the Pac-12 championship game, and they win, does that override their weaker schedule in comparison to Tennessee and in my opinion Michigan, or does Tennessee and Michigan, even without a conference championship, and with one loss each, does their schedules beat out USC's path to the college football playoff? I say yes. I think the fight will be between, if Michigan loses, I think the fight will be between Michigan and Tennessee, and I think that in the end, the loss to Ohio State at Ohio State, if it's a close loss, will beat out Tennessee's loss to Georgia at Georgia, because I think that the fact is that Tennessee had no chance in that Georgia game. They were dominated from start to finish against Georgia. If it's a close game between Ohio State and Michigan, and say it's like 1 to 3 points, I think that the playoff committee will view that more favorably than a dominated Tennessee against Georgia. And I think the opposite is true too. I shouldn't say the opposite. I think if Ohio State loses, that would also be true. But I actually think that Ohio State has a better chance of making it into the college football playoff than Michigan does with one loss. I think that Ohio State's schedule allows for them to be viewed more favorably. Even though it's not a phenomenal schedule, I do think that it allows them to be viewed more favorably. And I think that same argument is true. A close loss is viewed better than a dominated performance, or than a Georgia dominated loss against Tennessee. So I think that, close wins, it's possible that the playoff committee views that loss more favorably, but Tennessee does have a stronger strength of schedule than both Michigan and Ohio State. So in the end, what will the playoff committee choose? I'm not sure, but that's going to be all the time I have today. In the end, I think it'll be Georgia, a undefeated Big Ten team, TCU, and either Tennessee or Michigan or the one loss Big Ten team. And I think that those five will make up the last, or I think that that will make up the 4 spots of the college football playoff. So thank you for watching. This is the episode before tomorrow. We'll have the breakdowns of the breakdowns for this week's game, for Week 12's game on Monday. I hope you guys tune in to watch it. I know this game has been a little, or this episode has been a little, number heavy and a little more, clunky than some of my other episodes, but I thank you for watching. Have a great day, and please come back on Monday so that we can talk about the games that we just watched on Saturday. Have a great day, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram at CF_fanatics_official. And don't forget to like and subscribe this episode. It really helps with the algorithm. So thank you and have a great day.